Charles II of Spain, the last of the Habsburgs, and the Bewitched King. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel if you are new and leave a like on the video. He didn't have a single drop of blood. His heart was the size of a peppercorn. His lungs were rotten, his intestines were gangrenous, and his single testicle was black as coal. This was the detail of what the royal doctors found when they opened the body of Charles II, the last Habsburg king of Spain, nicknamed the Accursed. On November 1, 1700, Charles II died without leaving descendants. His death not only ended an era, but triggered a dynastic crisis that would change the fate of Europe. However, Charles' tragedy did not begin with his death, but from the very moment of his birth, which occurred 38 years earlier in a family marked by endogamy. When Philip IV and Mariana of Austria announced the birth of their heir, the Spanish court exploded with joy. The newborn was described as a healthy, strong, and graceful child, but the reality was very different. Reports from French diplomats sent to Madrid belied that idyllic image. The little boy was weak, suffered from frequent infections, had skin problems, and his development appeared compromised from the first months of life. As the years passed, signs of his physical and mental deterioration became evident. He could not stand until he was 8, and did not speak until he was 4. Her childhood was plagued by diseases such as measles, smallpox, and rubella, which further weakened her already fragile constitution. Inbreeding, a common practice among the Habsburgs to preserve the purity of the royal blood, had taken its toll. His family tree was marked by generations of marriages between close relatives. As a result, Charles II inherited not only the prominent Austrian jaw, but also a cocktail of genetic diseases that made him a king unable to rule independently. From childhood, the court attributed the prince's weakness to supernatural causes. It was said that he had been the victim of a spell, and that evil forces had condemned him to a life of suffering. This belief led the future monarch to undergo exorcisms and religious rituals in an attempt to free him from the alleged curse. He had been king since the age of 4, but by his adolescence it was clear that Charles was not capable of ruling. His mother, Mariana of Austria, who until then had acted as regent, left room for a series of capable ministers. They achieved good results on the economic level, restoring the exhausted coffers of the kingdom and leaving a surplus that would be useful to the successor. However, this period was also marked by the disastrous war against France, in which Luxembourg was lost, and by the Second Germany, a peasant uprising. In a desperate attempt to secure an heir and save the dynasty, Charles II married Marie-Louise of Orléans, a French princess, but the marriage was a failure. Marie-Louise never became pregnant and suffered from the king's inability to fulfill his marital duties. The chronicles of the time tell that the king, impotent and physically deteriorated, often did not even have the strength to get out of bed. After Maria Louisa's premature death, Charles remarried Mariana of Palatinate-Neuburg, another European princess, in the hope of finally obtaining an heir. Once again, fate denied him this opportunity. The frustrated queen went so far as to claim that someone was using witchcraft to prevent her from conceiving. Towards the end of his life, Charles's appearance was terrifying. His skin was pale and cadaverous, his body wasted, his mind increasingly clouded. The court physicians tried everything: strange potions, bloodletting, baths in miraculous waters, but nothing could improve his condition. On the night of November 1st, November 1700, the last king of the Habsburg dynasty of Spain, Charles II, breathed his last. His life was a sequence of illnesses, political crises, and superstitions that marked him as a weak and cursed ruler. But his death did not only mark the end of a reign, it lit the fuse of a conflict that would plunge Europe into war. When he died, an autopsy revealed the extent of his deterioration. He had no blood in his body, His heart was as small as a grain of pepper. His lungs were corroded, his intestines rotted, and his single testicle was black as coal. One of Charles II's last acts as king was to sign a will that would decide the fate of the Spanish throne. Unable to produce an heir, Spain found itself without a clear successor. For years, the major European powers had pressured the court in Madrid to influence the choice of the next monarch. Finally, on his deathbed, Charles designated Philip of Anjou, grandson of Louis XIV of France, as his heir. With this decision, Spain passed into the hands of the Bourbons, a dynasty that would change the course of the country. However, Philip's choice was not accepted by everyone. Austria, England, and the Netherlands strongly opposed it, fearing that Spain and France would unite in a single empire under the Bourbons. This brought Europe to the brink of a colossal war, the War of the Spanish Succession, which would last over a decade and involve the major powers of the time. The war not only defined the future of the Spanish throne, but transformed European politics. At the end of the conflict, in 1713, the Treaty of Utrecht recognized Philip V as King of Spain, but with one condition: Spain and France could never be united under a single sovereign. In addition, Spain lost key territories in Europe such as Flanders, Naples, and Sicily, further weakening its influence on the continent. Charles II's reign ended in ruin and chaos, but his death marked the beginning of a new era in which the Bourbons would take control of Spain. That's all for today, and what do you think of Charles II? Let me know in the comments and let me know which video you would like to see in the future. Subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Bye.